Welcome to Health Oddity, the show that strips away the jargon and hype surrounding all things health and fitness to help you live a long, strong and energetic life. Lining up at the bar this week, here's Peter Lant and James St. Pierre.
Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity podcast, episode 234. Now, I'm just checking back, actually. It will be, if you're listening on the day of release, it will be the 21st of February, if that's a Friday. It is. It's the 21st of February, and we are joined by a very special guest who I'll introduce you to in a minute. But I will say he's our first ever in probably about 4.5 years we've been doing this now. He's our first ever Czech guest, and he's coming live from Prague. So I'll introduce you to him in a minute. I'm just going to touch base with Peter Lant in Bath, in Somerset, in the southwest of England. The glorious southwest of England.
Glorious southwest.
How are you doing, Pete? You okay?
I'm very well. Bit of trivia for you. Prague is one of the 5 monosyllabic capitals of the world, so it's only got one syllable in its name. And
I thought you wanted to say, Peter, that Prague is the most beautiful city in Prague in the world. Prague is the most beautiful city in the world. That would be appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's monosyllabic, so it's got one syllable in its name. There are 4 others, and that's just done everyone's heads in.
Should we ask everybody to comment below if they know the other monosyllabic capital cities? Okay. The other 4. Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
But Prague is beautiful. Yeah. You just heard from Pavel there. You've been to Prague as well, Pete?
I've been a few times. Yeah.
No,
it's very. It didn't get bombed during the war, did it? So there's lots of really
little bit, but not. It wasn't damaged that much as other cities, for example, in Poland and other parts of Europe.
Yeah, and then you've got the old with the new as well, because there's the famous dancing house, isn't there?
That's right, the new architecture. Yeah.
So
I think they use Prague a lot in films as well to look like sort of is it like Victorian England and Gothic? It's very fantastic.
Frankly, the new Nosferatu movie, right? Prague in it as well, so in some bits.
Oh, I watched Nosferatu. Have you watched that, Pavel? Have you watched Nosferatu?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of good movies and horror movies, vampire flicks, of course, and I would put it definitely in my top 5 vampire movies that I have seen. So I sincerely recommend it. It's visually stunning. It's a good tribute to the original German Nosferatu movie, and as well as other vampire movies such as Bram Stoker's Dracula from 1990s. I'm a huge fan as well.
Excellent. No, I loved it. I loved Nosferatu. I thought it was very, very good. Anyway, we're getting into a film conversation early on, which is great. We did say before we started recording, we said we'll keep it natural and flowing, and that's what we're doing. But yeah, so you've just obviously heard from Pavel. So Pavel Macek is Strongfirst Master sort of Certified Instructor. And I'll say at the start now, and we'll say again at the end, Pavel is coming over to England this May, and he will be teaching. We'll get into the detail of what this is and what these things are, but he's teaching a 1-day, like a 5-hour Enter the Dumbbell workshop on Friday the 23rd of May, and he's teaching the 2-day Strongfirst Bodyweight certification, which is the SFB Strongfirst Bodyweight, on the 24th and the 25th of May. All at Unique Results in Chelmsford in Essex. So 3 days with Pavel. You can do all 3 days, or you can do the weekend for the Strongfirst Bodyweight, or you can just do the Enter the Dumbbell workshop, or all of it. So we'll talk about that a bit later. But I thought I'd get that in early doors. So if you enjoy listening to Pavel, which I'm sure you will, and you want to meet him in person and train with him in person, there's some options there. So first of all, Pavel, I suppose what would be really good and helpful for everybody is if maybe if you explain a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got introduced to physical culture, physical training, and found your way to doing what you do now. And I will say off the bat as well, one thing I really love about Pavel is it's great when we have really big strong people on. But Pavel, no, I'm not Pete. You know,
I'm
Pete,
No.
and weak. Yeah.
No. It's because I know that like Pavel's probably about a similar. You might weigh less than me, but you weigh about the same, and I think we're about the same age as well. So I love it. You're just clearly stronger, but
70 kilos, 48 years right now.
yeah.
48 years of age, and how many
Same age
kilos?
as me, yeah.
70 kilos.
70 kilos. Yeah, so very similar.
Exactly.
To you.
Except Pavel's stronger, which is why he's a master instructor.
But we also but what I was going to say was, I think a lot of people, it's great when we have, people who are maybe competing in the world's strongest man, and we've had like a Pavlo Kordiaka from Ukraine on, haven't we? And like Magnus for Magnusson and people like that. But for everyday people, and like we had Chloe Brennan on, I think that was only last week, wasn't it? Who was herself sort of 73 kilos, 5'7". So I think for more the kind of the listener, the average listener, to hear from people who are incredibly strong, and also incredibly strong pound for pound, I think is in some ways more relatable and more inspiring for everyday people. That's kind of the feedback that I get from people who listen. So yeah, Pavel, do you want to kind of dive in and talk to us about your background and how you became the person you are today, if that's okay?
Of course. So first of all, James, Peter, thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure. I was the proverbial sick and small kid. I'm still small, but I'm not sick anymore. I had severe asthma and allergy, and I was really, really bad in sports. One of my friends, they were stationed in China in early 80s, and when they came back to Prague, he brought all the martial arts movies, Kung Fu flicks with Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee and the old Shaw Brothers movies. And of course, we all wanted to do martial arts. So I was looking around back that time, or there were not many options in our country. So I started with judo, and later on I started with Chinese martial arts. Basically at the same time I was doing really good at school. I was and I'm still avid reader, reading a couple of books a week. So I was doing really good, but I sucked at sport, right? And our physical preparation teacher, our PT, the teacher who taught the physical education, he said, you know what, I'm gonna fail you. So I had all A's and F in physical education. And of course, I didn't like it. My father didn't like it. So I thought, damn, I need to start to do something. So we had this strength and conditioning club every Thursday in our school. The PT said, if you want to get stronger, I'll give you the space in the basic school, and you can just come and lift weights, do your push-ups, squats, whatever. My parents, they gave me a Christmas present. It was a 10-kilo circus dumbbell, and basically all my training consisted of carrying that damn heavy dumbbell to the gym and then back home again. So I was doing the suitcase carries way long before it was a thing, right? So carries back and forth. This is the origin of the Enter the Dumbbell. Possibly we'll get to that. And I start to run, I start to jump, do push-ups and pull-ups and climb. I joined a martial arts school for judo and Chinese martial arts, as I said before. And in 5 years of training, I went to practice 3 times a week. I didn't miss a single session. I just loved it. Later on, I wanted to go to the source, to the origin. So first we went with one of my friends in 1997 to San Francisco, studied in San Francisco's Chinatown under guidance of Grandmaster YC Wong, and we got introduced to family of his teacher in Hong Kong, and I traveled to Hong Kong and to China many times to learn traditional martial arts. Later on, I got involved in reality-based self-defense and mixed martial arts as well, because I think these three traditional martial arts, modern combatives, reality-based self-defense, and modern combat sports complement each other really, really well. And of course, I was looking for the best strength and conditioning methods for combat arts. I started to train combat arts, that was 1991, right? So around 2005, 2006. I tried everything from doing biceps curls with light dumbbells and machine training and high intensity interval training and whatnot. And but I was still doing my research, always looking for the best. And I find a book called The Naked Warrior. Warrior, right? So I thought, interesting. Checked it out, and it was very different from everything else that I have seen before. Because instead of many exercises and many reps, yeah, I have, of course, my copy. I have the Czech edition with a foreword that I had honor to write years later to the Czech translation. So Pavel's book, written by Pavel Tsaculin, my teacher, mentor, founder of Strongfirst, the book was very different. Instead of lots of exercises, it featured just two drills, one-arm push-ups and single leg squats, and the progressions how to get there, right? Number one. Number two, instead of doing many reps, what Pavel advised was to find a variation that you can do, let's say 5 to 6 reps, and do 2 to 3 reps throughout the day. So again, the programming was very different, completely different from everything that I have seen before. I flipped through the book, just look at the pictures, try the one-arm push-up and single leg squat, the pistol, and I failed. I wasn't able to do it. So I thought, okay, how about I start truly reading and from the beginning, right? And what I have noticed was that Pavel was actually explaining and teaching many principles that I knew from my Chinese martial arts training, such as, grabbing the floor with your fingers when doing push-ups. We do the same thing with our toes in our traditional Chinese martial arts stances. Then extending the hips and squeezing the glutes and lifting the pelvic floor, using the diaphragm, using the breathing, using the corkscrew movement of the arms, using active, negative, and so on and so forth. What we call at Strongfirst so-called strength skills, the core principles. So I was reading the book, I was applying all the principles that Pavel has taught, and I did my one-arm push-up and single leg squat in a couple of days, and I was very impressed. I thought, this is really good. Many people talk about having a system, principle-based system, but very few deliver. And I think what Pavel has done for the world of strength and conditioning, he truly delivered a principle-based system that is replicable to anybody. You mentioned that I'm a relatively small guy, 70 kilos, but I have some pretty good accomplishments in the world of the strength training, and it's all thanks to Pavel and his teachings and his principles, because I apply them patiently in my training, and I'm still working on that, and I got so much stronger without hurting my body. And in the Naked Warrior, there was an advertisement for these kettlebells, right? And I thought, damn, if 20% of what people say about kettlebells is true, it's worth trying that. If the bodyweight training worked so good, let's see about the kettlebell training. So I took the leap of faith. I bought a full set of kettlebells at that time, from 4 kilo to 32 kilo. Started to learn from various videos available at that time. Loved it very much. And in 2012, me and my wife, we decided to get certified, went to Italy, met Pavel for the first time, get successfully certified, as kettlebell instructors, and the rest is the history. So
Did you meet Fabio Zonin then? Was he involved at that?
yes,
Yeah.
of
So you
course,
met.
it was in Vicenza, a huge event organized by Fabio, and it was awesome.
Yeah, we've had
Really love
Fabio on a number of times on the podcast. He's because I think both yourself and me, Pete, we've both learnt from Fabio loads, haven't we, over the years doing
He's
workshops and courses. Yeah.
he's done every Dan John did a one back in 2015, the level 2. And then when I helped was an assistant, it was Sean Cairns, but every other one I've done has been Fabio.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm following him throughout the years, and he's just constantly growing, coming up with new cues and programs, and he's doing so much for Strongfirst. So I learned from him so much. Actually, he's coming to Prague this early October, to teach SFL in Prague, and I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Excellent. There's a couple of things that you said there, Pavel, which was one of them was well, you mentioned, I suppose, what was the early, I don't know if it was called this at the time, but the grease the groove kind of training methodology or principle, I suppose you'd call it, where you were taking a resistance at the time, which was your body weight in this instance, and you were taking something that was very, very submaximal. And like you say, you could do it probably 6 times and you're only doing it 2 or 3 times. You're not getting anywhere near fatigue. You're still leaving maybe 3 reps in the tank or reps in reserve. And then you're just training it at regular kind of intervals whenever you can. And obviously the benefit of the body weight training is that you can do it anywhere. There's no equipment required. So that's brilliant.
Anywhere, anytime. Yeah.
Anywhere, anytime, which is great because we'll talk about that obviously in relation to, like I said, the SFB that you're teaching this May. And then the other thing was I remember we mentioned last week we had Steve Cotter on the podcast a few years back now, and how he sadly passed away recently. But I remember Steve Cotter, who was involved, I think, with the kind of the RKC stuff from about 2001, I think 2002. It was maybe 2003, but very early on. And he said that the kettlebell was first not adopted, but the first guys who really got involved in the kettlebell training were mainly martial artists. So it was heavily used within the martial arts sort of circles, and people who were interested in martial arts. Then it was kind of a very synergistic relationship with kettlebells and martial arts. Maybe you can tell us from your opinion why there is that crossover, and why a lot of people involved in combat and martial arts and even military tend to kind of lean towards the kettlebell as a methodology or a mode of training.
We have 3 main weapons against weakness in Strongfirst, and hopefully we'll have 4 soon, right? So we have a body weight, kettlebell, barbell, and as you mentioned in the intro of the podcast, I'm coming to England to teach the very first Enter the Dumbbell workshop, again based on Strongfirst methodology. We can design a very simple and very successful program for combat artists with all 4 tools, right? So it can be body weight, barbell, dumbbell, or kettlebell. I personally think that kettlebell, let me rephrase, when in doubt, start with kettlebell and do the kettlebell lifts. There is something unique about that tool, and especially about the way that we are using that tool at Strongfirst. that cannot be done with any other tools. The high rep ballistics, you can't do them with any other tools. For example, dumbbell overhead swings, as you will see at the workshop, are a whole different animal, and they are not done for high reps, such as let's say kettlebell swings or kettlebell snatches. Do it with a barbell. Also, it's not the best way. So for my students, and I'm teaching, of course, my students Chinese martial arts. I teach MMA as well. We have kickboxers, boxers, MMA fighters from other gyms coming to our gym to strength train. So we have different programs with different tools. We most of the time we start with a kettlebell with of course Pavel's simple and sinister, at least until so-called simple standard. Then we may make or may not some modifications. So for example, add push press, which I think is a very underused drill and very useful for combat sports. And then we may switch to a barbell program. So my favorite combination for combat arts with a barbell is a deadlift, bar none. That's definitely the best drill that you can do for combat artists. Bench press, and again taught the way that we teach it at Strongfirst, using the legs, using the lats, using the abs, grip and everything. So no bench press as a pec exercise, but full body lift, and I like to do full contact twists with the barbell for the combat athletes. So we have the lower body strength, upper body strength. We know both of them are full body strength, and then we have the rotational power and strength of the midsection. Right. For the dumbbells, Steve Bakari, one of Pavel's students and colleagues, I was in touch with him when I was developing my dumbbell program because he loves dumbbell a lot. His point, and I think it's very valid, is if you teach somebody clean and press with a dumbbell, he can start lift almost immediately. You just make a couple of adjustments, right? With a kettlebell, and I love kettlebell clean and press. I'm currently on a clean and press program. It takes some time to learn the clean, right? Because of the banging. You can still do cheat cleans and then the presses. So we do have shortcuts. But if you want to do truly just, one arm unilateral clean and press, if I show you the dumbbell clean and press, you can start lifting basically the next day. Heavy dumbbell clean and press, that's a different story, because people, you will see at the workshop, people would think that they are almost the same. Yes, but the differences are crucial, right? Like how to hold the dumbbell, what type of rack, right? Here, or here. What's the path? What's the groove? You will see at the workshop. Body weight, you mentioned Steve Cotter. I remember that he got injured years ago. I believe it was an arm injury, and he couldn't do push-ups, right, or any strikes. So when his classmates were doing push-ups, he was doing single leg squats, right, matching them in the numbers. And his pistol squats and jumping pistol squats were, of course, legendary. So you can have a bodyweight program for combat athletes. I would still add some big pull, some kettlebell swings or dumbbell overhead swings or dumbbell cleans or kettlebell snatches or deadlifts to have some big pull. But otherwise, it could be just body weight. Long story make short, when in doubt, start with kettlebell, Pavel simple and sinister until you meet the timed simple standard, and then we will talk.
Excellent. So the time simple standard, just for people who are listening, we know what you're talking about, obviously, but many people won't. I mean, that is one hand swings and Turkish get-ups, and it's 100 one hand swings followed by 10 Turkish get-ups, and there's time associated to that as well. But I think
5 minutes for the swings, 10 minutes for the get-ups, 1 minute break in between those drills, and for gentlemen is a 32-kilo kettlebell.
Yeah, and for women, is it a 24 for the swings and a 16 for the get-ups?
Yes,
is that
sir.
correct? Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
excellent,
Correct.
perfect. So I was going to ask you, I know you mentioned when in doubt, start with the kettlebell, but I've spoke to a number of people on the podcast, other Strongfirst kind of people as well, and I suppose that's yeah, you're training people to train, but if you really want to master things, and in your mind you've potentially got the idea that you're going to do certifications yourself and do the SFG and the SFL and the SFB and the SFG2 and that sort of thing, quite a few people have suggested that a good order to actually do the certifications in would be to do the body weight one first, because it teaches you so many principles and the principles of tension and body awareness and everything else that then make it easier to apply to the others. I mean, what's your feeling on that? I mean, what would you, if someone came to you and said, right, I plan to do all of the certifications, which one would you start? Which one would you recommend someone start with, or does it depend?
I'll quote another teacher of mine and dear friend, John Engum. This is something that he recommended years ago, and I completely agree. Start with something that you love. So you are a body weight guy, you are a kettlebell guy, or you just love to lift barbells. This is your first cert. Important thing to realize is that all the tools are just the tools that we are using to learn the different strength skills, and different tools will help you to learn the strength skills from a different angle, right? The advantage of the body weight is that there is no tool, it's just your body. So I like to refer to our Strongfirst SFB bodyweight curriculum as internal training, because lots of stuff that's happening, you just can't see it, right? How do you know if I lift my pelvic floor, how I use my diaphragm, how I corkscrew my arms into the shoulder sockets, or grab the floor, right? Or actively pull myself. So there is no external tool, so you really need to go in and focus. So that's the advantage of the body weight. But with that being said, I would say start with what you love, right? Get the taste of what we teach at Strongfirst. Start with a one-day workshop. I think the design of our one-day workshops is just awesome. Just a couple of selected lifts. You go really in a great detail. You get a very simple program. So if you learn the lifts and skills, techniques, you apply them for a couple of months, you will get so much stronger, and then possibly get certified. So this should be your first certification, something that you love. The second one should be the one that you hate. So maybe you are a barbell guy, right? Maybe you are a barbell guy and you are, as my dear friend and barbell teacher, Doug Hartle says, vertically challenged for the pull-ups, right? So sign up for the SFB. Or maybe you are the so-called calisthenic guy, right? And like some of them like to say, oh, I never touch a barbell. Pavel Macek says, oh, bad for you. I feel sorry for you, right? You can get so much stronger. So sign up for a barbell workshop or potentially a certification, because that's where you will grow most, right? Something that you fear, something you are not really comfortable with, this is the place of your highest growth. And then just fill it in the blanks. If you look at the body weight, kettlebell, barbell, it's like a stool with 3 legs, right? So it's very stable. You will have a very stable foundation. I would suggest to add the 4th leg, which is the dumbbell. It's even more stable, and there are many reasons why to train with the dumbbell that we will possibly discuss later.
Excellent. No, that's fantastic. And I know from experience of working with Claire Booth and Fabio Zonin that both of them say that the body weight course, or the body weight SFB, is one that really didn't and doesn't come naturally to them. You know, Fabio says, you know, he's not built for he's not a body weight guy. You know, he's from a
barbell
powerlifting
guy,
background.
right?
Yeah, he's a powerlifting background, barbell guy. So he sort of says that, you know, if he can learn it and use the principles to get better at it, then anyone can. Whereas for you, Pete, we spoke about this before, haven't we? you found the body weight certification the easiest of them to do.
Well, that's because I'm little and light, so of course it's easier, isn't it?
But also you've got, you've got shorter levers, haven't you? Yeah. So
Yeah.
like you say, all those things, but the principles that you have, of it, and like as I think Pavel, you said that within a couple of days of deciding to do a one-arm push-up and a single leg, obviously pistol squat, you read Naked Warrior, you applied some of the principles from the book, and you could do it within a couple of days. Where
we had that. It's funny because you mentioned John Engham, friend of the show, because he's been on. We had Alex on as well, didn't we? Alex Salkin, and he was talking about the one-legged push-up, and he just couldn't get it. And he said he either watched a video or something, or he read Naked Warrior or something, and he said it was about the hollow position. And as soon as he was kind of thought he was doing it, but he wasn't really doing it. So as soon as he read up on it, he was like, right, he did the hollow position, and he just did a one-legged push-up straight away.
How awesome is that? I remember at my level 1 certification kettlebell, doing kettlebell military presses, 60% of people, many of them seasoned lifters, they did their PR, right? Because Pavel told them, okay, you do this with the feet, and then the pelvis, and then glutes, and here abs, here focus, here eyes, breathe, boom. And PR after 30-40 minute lecture, that's absolutely awesome. I was very, very impressed, and honestly I'm still impressed when I'm teaching it, right? I always think, man, this is so good, this is so good.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think that, like you say, they do all complement each other, and it's because they are based on principle, and it's a different tool. Now, mentioning a different tool, you mentioned the dumbbell, and I mentioned that the Enter the Dumbbell workshop on the 23rd of May. And is this the first time you've taught the workshop, or the first time you've taught it in England?
I taught a couple of inside trial workshops already, because of course I have been doing the program and the lifts for, I believe I started to develop it around 2016, or even little area. So almost 10 years ago I started to develop the program, and I'll explain why. I already taught a couple of closed workshops. I taught a bigger workshop in France, thanks to the invitation of my friend and colleague and teacher Alexei Senart, Strongfirst Master Certified Instructor from France. So this won't be the first workshop, but it will be the first workshop in England, and it will be, of course, the updated one. We have online course, Enter the Dumbbell in works. We will actually finish the shooting next week. We already done the full course, the full program, step-by-step progressions for all main dumbbell lifts, but we have still one module missing that we need to shoot next week. So it will be hopefully released soon this year, and it will feature the updated program, and this is the same thing that I'm gonna teach in England.
Excellent. And you said there were lots of reasons why using a dumbbell or dumbbell training is good. And yeah, do you want to maybe start talking to us about what some of those reasons might be? Yeah.
In my trial and error approach to strength training, before I met Pavel's teaching and Strongfirst, I got as a present a full set of dumbbells, and from really light ones to quite heavy ones, right? And we are doing the usual stuff like biceps curl and triceps whatnot and flies and the usual bodybuilding type of training. When I learned kettlebell lifting, I thought, hell, I can do everything better with the kettlebell. So the dumbbells are just gathering dust in my gym, so I gave them one of my students. But then I started to travel a lot, teach a lot, and of course I wanted to stay in shape when being on the road. So one option, and I use it very frequently, was the Naked Warrior program. One arm push-up, single leg squat, right? You don't need any equipment, anytime, anywhere. But if you have access to a good piece of iron, why not to do some heavy lifting, right? Many gyms, unfortunately, didn't have kettlebells, or kettlebells heavy enough, or plastic and pink, and I don't want to touch it. So of course they had the dumbbells were everywhere. Even in some hotel gym, they have the stationary bike, maybe a pull down machine, and a set of dumbbells. So I thought, okay, I'll do my kettlebell lifts with the dumbbells. So some of the lifts are quite close, so the students will figure it out somehow, such as clean and press and bench press, for example. But how about swings, right? Uh, how about snatches? How about doubles? How about if you want to really lift heavy? So that was my question. And I'm a geek. I have a huge collection of old-time strongman magazines and books and manuals and booklets. And back in the old days, the dumbbell, kettlebell, and barbell, they were called the Royal Road to Strength. The Milo company founded in the beginning of the 20th century. This is what they sold as for equipment. It was so-called Milo Duplex, later Milo Triplex, which was it was a set consisting of a barbell and two kettlebells and a dumbbell. So I remembered from flipping through the pages of those old resources that they were actually a lot of articles about dumbbell lifting, and I'm saying dumbbell lifting, not dumbbell exercising. So no, not much biceps curls, but dumbbell overhead swings and dumbbell cleans and presses and double dumbbells cleans and presses. So I came back to the sources. Like it is said, if you want to learn something new, study something old, right? And this is what I did. And what I discovered was that there was a whole system around dumbbell lifting, both with one dumbbell and with two dumbbells. I took lots of notes, did lots of experiments. Of course, I used my education that I got from Pavel and from Strongfirst, the principle based, because we say at Strongfirst, one mind, any weapon. So I applied that one mind to this type of weapon, and I developed basically, we can say, a level 1 and level 2 curriculum. Let's say foundation and advanced lift, singles and doubles. And whenever I was traveling, I was lifting dumbbells, if no kettlebells around, and I run a couple of cycles as a test, of course, myself and with my students in my gyms. And I think the benefits are, first of all, dumbbells are everywhere. So wherever you go, you will find dumbbells. So that's number one. Some people, for some reason, don't like kettlebells or barbells, which is a shame, but it is what it is, right? But they still lift dumbbells. So how about we teach them how to lift the dumbbells correctly? So no triceps kickbacks and biceps curls and flies, but dumbbell overhead swings, dumbbell cleans and presses, and push presses, double dumbbell drills, favorites of such strong gentlemen such as Doug Hepburn or Paul Anderson, weightlifting and powerlifting legends. So I enjoy it very much. In my opinion, dumbbell is somewhere between kettlebell lifting, powerlifting, and Olympic weightlifting. And it's Olympic weightlifting, unilateral Olympic weightlifting for the people, because as much as let's say clean and jerk with a barbell or the barbell snatch is awesome, the learning curve is very, very long, right? Very, very steep. Dumbbell clean and press, anybody can learn it. Dumbbell overhead swing, anybody can learn it, and they can get the pure power benefits of these lifts, same as in the Olympic weightlifting. So You will see, James. You will tell me after the work.
What's great as well, you mentioned the old. I love that. If you want to learn something new, read something old, or that's fantastic. And we had on actually. You probably are aware of. Do you know Brooks Kubik, who wrote Dinosaur Training?
Of
Yeah.
course.
So we had Brooks on the podcast before from Dinosaur Training, and he obviously is like a strength historian as well, and loves all the old time strongman lifts and things, and that's great. And on a personal level, I've got, I think, a few weeks after you come over, at the start of June, I've started doing some strongman competitions, just at a kind of a novice sort of level, but I've got like a dumbbell ladder that I need to do. And I've got some really big, like monster dumbbells at the gym, which I can't wait to see you, for you to be able to use, that you can load. But they're the big circuits, the huge ones. So I want to see, because you can bring the dumbbell, you have to shoulder the dumbbell, so you can't snatch it from the floor or do like an overhead swing. So you bring it to the shoulder with two hands, release one hand, and then you can bring it up and lock it overhead. And you can use whatever technique you want. You can push press it, you can jerk it, or whatever. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to learning from you.
You mentioned
Help me with
Brooks
that.
Kubik.
Yeah.
He is, of course, a true legend of the Iron game, and I used his materials extensively and give him proper credit. He shot very, very old video in his dungeon, basically lifting dungeon, with various dumbbell lifts. I wrote a couple of articles and excellent book about dumbbell lifting. What I have done is what we do at Strongfirst. I really narrowed down the curriculum, and I try to went really, really deep. So step-by-step progressions and applying the strength skills that we mentioned before. As for the strongman competition, about a year and a half ago, I got a message on my Instagram from a gentleman named Jiří Kadlčík, who is our most famous Czech strongman. He won the World Strongman competition twice in the category 105 kilos. He actually won last year after we worked together, so he applied some of the stuff that I had the chance to teach him and adjust his training program a little bit. And I remember I saw his Czech record of the dumbbell overhead press was, I believe, something like 120 kilos or something like that. And I thought, I need to contact this guy, right? So I can discuss my dumbbell program with him. And I forgot about it. Years later, he contacted me. We became friends. We taught a workshop together and plan to teach more. So he will be the right guy to ask James what he is using. We call it strongman rack, right? When you are shouldering the dumbbell. And what we have found out when we were experimenting on improving his technique, what works best is basically push press / jerk, but into a windmill receiving position.
Yeah.
And we figured out that works best. So I recommend you to check his Instagram channel, Jiří Kadlčík, and just observing him to lift the heavy dumbbells, you will learn a lot. What I will teach is what we do at Strongfirst, power to the people for a regular Jane and Joe, how to start to lift dumbbells and get stronger. And
excellent. No, I'll make sure I get that follow that name at the end from you. I really appreciate
what was the name again, James?
Jiří Kadlčík.
I'll maybe you can type it and send it to me.
I'll send you the link.
I won't be able to find it. Yeah.
Just listen to it back. What's funny is that basically we have this saying in Czech that you are bringing the owls to Athens, right? So I'm bringing back to England one arm overhead dumbbell swing, which is pure British lift. It was hugely popular back in the old days. You have many legends of the iron game in England, Thomas Inch, Edward Aston, Macek, most of his career he spent in the England. The first body weight overhead swing with the dumbbell was done by Montesaldo in England, right? And of course, William Pullum, the legend of the Amateur Weightlifting Association, British Amateur Weightlifting Association. This was his pet lift, right? So I'm bringing you your own heritage back to England, because there is like pure British powerlift or weightlifting drill. That's the overhead dumbbell swing.
Yeah. And I think, did you mention the dumbbell bent press as well? Did you mention that today, didn't you? Because I know that Ollie Quinn, who's again Strongfirst, a guy out who lives out in Texas now, he was doing strongman comps and he was using the huge dumbbells, and he would bring it up to the shoulder, and then he would do a bent press with it and level up, which was allowed, you know. So that was, but no one had really seen.
That's one of our plans with Yezi, because of course different competitions have different rules. So if you want to lift for the reps, bent press is not the best choice, right? Or do the ladder when you know to do really fast weight from weight. But for lifting the heaviest weight possible, bent press is the king. So I taught Yezi bent press, and in just matter of weeks he was bent pressing very heavy weight.
Excellent, excellent. And what does your training, what does your kind of training look like now, Pavel? The fact that you're a Strongfirst Master Instructor, you've created the Enter the Dumbbell workshop. You're obviously well versed, and in all of the implements. I mean, what does your training program look like at the moment? And are you still actively engaged in lots of martial arts training every week as well? I mean, what does your week look like from a training perspective?
Combat arts 4 times a week in the gym environment. So I'm teaching both traditional Chinese martial arts and mixed martial arts, quite a lot of lessons. So I'm showing lots of drills, techniques, and of course I'm training on my own as well daily. My focus is mainly today on mixed martial arts, Chinese martial arts, and I teach 3 different styles. One of them is, we can term it like a hard style type of style. The other one is more fluid and swinging, excellent fit, let's say, for MMA. And the third is called needle in cotton. It looks like Tai Chi. It's very slow, gentle, smooth movements, but with a practical application. So this is what I train currently. As for the Chinese martial arts, strength training, I lift 3 times a week. I have a private training group in the morning. Terminator, the older models of Terminators, as Alexei Senard likes to joke. My last couple of cycles, I have done snatch and the bench press program. This is another project of mine called IPM, Imperial Program Minimum, coming again back to the roots, to the Pavel's original program minimum, snatch and the bench press. But I developed a very specific simple program, very similar to Simple and Sinister. So I did a couple of cycles very successfully. Then I got injured in my martial arts training, my left forearm, so I couldn't hold the kettlebell on my left arm. So kettlebell was not an option. I could have switched to the barbell, but I use it as opportunity to polish my dumbbell skills. So I switched to dumbbell because there is no pressure for the forearm. My forearm had time to heal. I did 2 cycles of the Enter the Dumbbell program, which is called Linking the Chain, with the goal half body weight, military press, left and right, 2 repetitions, right? And I successfully met the goal, so I pressed half body weight dumbbell twice on my left and on my right. I wanted to do another cycle, but one of my students from the morning class started the original rite of passage with the kettlebell. My left arm was healed, so I said, okay, you know, it's similar to the dumbbell. I have done dumbbell overhead swings, clean and presses, and the Enter the Kettlebells program, rite of passage is clean press, snatch, and swing, right? So same but different. So in order to help him to jump into the program, I did a cycle of rite of passage. Pressed more than half my body weight, both on my left and right, and I'm doing another cycle, doing actually a program that I wrote, one of the very few programs that I wrote, called Rite of Passage Heavy, with some heavier weights. So right now I'm doing presses with 32 and 28 kilos. I'm doing snatches with 32 kilos and swings with 48 kilos, just easy day and swings 48 kilos. So I'll do definitely one more cycle, probably more, and then we'll see. Then I'll come back to my IPM, because my long-term goal is body weight bench press. This is something that I would love to do. I still need 14 kilos. I did 56 on my right. I still need 14 kilos.
So that's doing the bench press with a kettlebell, yeah?
I'll probably switch to the dumbbell. I think kettlebell is by far the best tool to learn the bench press, because the advantage is that the center of mass being outside pulls you actually into the correct position. So it's way easier to learn and control the kettlebell. People, you will see at the workshop, when they will learn the dumbbell clean and press, even a relatively light dumbbell will feel really weird, right? Because the dumbbell press, it is here, right? Nice and tight, but dumbbell is more misbehaving, and you need to really control the groove. But after a certain weight, I have kettlebells all the way to 92 kilos in my gym, right? The pressure and, you know, the body of the kettlebell is really huge. So in my opinion, the best progression for heavy bench presses is to start with a kettlebell, proceed to the dumbbell, and I can load my dumbbells up to, I believe, 80 kilos, and then proceed, if you want to barbell.
Excellent.
This is where this whole conversation is great, because there's, like, you know, we've got body weight, kettlebell, barbell, dumbbell now. And you were talking about Steve Cotter hurt his arm, so he couldn't do single leg, he couldn't do the push-ups, so he was doing single leg squats. You hurt your arm here, so you couldn't use a kettlebell, so you were using a dumbbell, or you do body weight or barbell or whatever. This is like, these are the things, aren't they? Because people injure themselves. Like, people are going to get injured, and then they go, all right, well, I can't do anything now because they used to doing one thing. And it's like, well, if you've got a kind of broader view of the whole thing, you can switch to that. And even if you haven't done that yet, you can go and learn it while you're getting better. So
we still have options. I always give this example. One of my students, he was a UFC fighter, Victor Pešta. He got his knee injured, some heel hook. That was, let's say, on Wednesday. Thursday, surgery. Monday, he was in the gym, right, on his crutches, and he said, what can I train, right, coach? What can I do? And he was doing swings and get-ups at that time. Of course, it wasn't an option. So what we did, barbell floor press, right, pull-ups, and I gave him a gripper so he can train at his home with a Captain of Crush gripper. So we sometimes need to train around injuries, and it is good to have the selection of the tools. And I think these 4 tools are the most time-tested tools ever: dumbbells, barbells, kettlebell, and the body weight skills and lifts.
It was interesting, because I was going to ask you, before you kind of did that very sort of thorough explaining about the kettlebell for the bench press, because I was going to ask you, because I think that it's probably easier to press a kettlebell, but like you say, up to a point. You know what I mean? So I was going to say, because usually if you can press the kettlebell up to a point, but I've never pressed. I mean, the most I've pressed is a 36 kilo kettlebell, and that was only fairly recently. But I've done like a Turkish get up with, like, say, a 40 or a 44. and I know the feeling of that, the big kettlebell pushing onto the bones of the, I mean, of the arms.
I have a solution.
Pardon?
I have a solution.
Get stronger.
First solution is you need to buy a pink sweatband with a Hello Kitty image. And nobody took this option so far. The second is for every hand and for every kettlebell, unless the kettlebell is really bad, there is a perfect position. So sometimes you need to experiment. I have a injury on my left arm years ago. My martial arts teacher, he injured my arm when we're doing some drills, and it hurt for a long time. So for example, 40-kilo kettlebell, I couldn't do a get up with it, right? Because I was using the grab that was the strongest, but it was still inflicting significant pressure on my forearm. So I had to adjust the grip. Not so deep, not my pinky side to the corner of the kettlebell, which feels the strongest for me naturally, but it was painful. So the grip was a little bit more shallow, and I went a little bit more into the middle, and I could do it. Without no problem. So I haven't done anything over 56 kilo. I've done 56 kilo bench presses. I accomplished the Sinister Challenge with 48, right? So the pressure on the forearm was not an issue, but I had to really experiment with the grip. Traveling, the same thing. Different kind of kettlebell. I just lifted the kettlebell, roll to press. It didn't feel right. I set it down, experimented until I found how deep the grip should be. If my pinky side closer to the horns, or my thumb, or somewhere in the middle, but always for every arm and every hand and every kettlebell, there is a grip, but it takes experimenting. But with that being said, maybe you truly have some, deformities or injuries or something. We have barbells, we have dumbbells, or you get injured as I did, and you can do your presses.
Yeah, I was thinking that's the thing, because it was something that I didn't do very often. I just kind of have done it a few times, so I haven't really taken the, like you say, the time to find the best grip for it, because it was something that I haven't done very much. But yeah, I'm sure. But then again, like you say, I'm sure there is a point whereby the kettlebell in one hand, because of the size of it and the weight of it, and it's pushing you outwards and it's digging into the floor, is probably not the best implement,
Yes.
so you possibly,
the heavier it is, the more you need to turn your elbow out and your arm inward. So basically you end up lifting it like this. So I think, let's say, like really heavy kettlebells, I think 56 is still good, possibly 60, but then we have heavy loadable dumbbells, or we have barbells, so it's not worth to buy anything heavier. For some like heavy dudes, for pure power training, doing, let's say, heavy swings, 92 kilo, 3 reps, like pure power training, that might be an option, but still we can do it other way. So you're absolutely correct. One of my students, he did bench press with 68 kilo. Yeti, of course, he did the we call it strongman push press, right, with 92 kilos, and the pressure is
the 92 kilo kettlebell on his arm.
you can find it on his Instagram. He is awesome, and we were actually experimenting, right, with different stances, with different receiving positions. He took my bench press workshop and is a huge fan of bench press as well. So he took the lessons from the bench press workshop when we covered the windmill and the side press, and basically what he is doing is something like a side push press.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's excellent. And I suppose because then when you progress to a really heavy dumbbell, you've then got another kind of skill to learn, or another, because then there's more maneuverability available in the wrist, isn't there? So there's more stability required, I should say, within the wrist when you have a really heavy dumbbell as well. So yeah, no, interesting, very interesting. Oh, this is great. This is very, very good indeed. So, what will you be? I mean, can you tell us the basic? Like you said, you've got a narrow focus, but a very deep dive into each thing. For example, on the Enter the Dumbbell workshop. So, what things will you be covering in those 5 hours? It's the swing to overhead, is it?
We'll first cover light dumbbell mobility sequence, because there is still place for a really light dumbbells, let's say 2 kilo, 3 kilos dumbbell. Basically super joints done with a light dumbbell. It's excellent for your health, for your ligaments, for your joints, for other structures than just bones and the muscles. So this was a very important part of the all-time strongman training. Very light dumbbells, lots of exercises, many reps, right? Then is the other part of the equation, which is heavy dumbbells, couple of carefully selected lifts and low reps, no more than 5 reps, and usually doubles, triples, maybe 4 reps, maybe 5 reps. I'll cover the 3 core lifts, which is the dumbbell clean, dumbbell press, and dumbbell overhead swing. We'll cover different variations such as muscle variation, power variation, split variation. We will cover different chains and then link them into the program, which is called Linking the Chain, inspired by the Hermann Gerner and his all-time strongman kettlebell and dumbbell program. This is what he has done in first 20 to 30 minutes before he started his main lifting. He started with the kettlebells. He did snatch, press, clean, press. The same thing with the other hand. He proceeded from the lightest bell, it was, I believe, like 12 kilo kettlebell, to the heaviest, which was about 52 kilos, I believe. And then he came back again to the lightest, and he proceeded through the weight ladder for about, let's say, 20-30 minutes. Then he did the same thing with the dumbbells, right? And I knew how to do it with the kettlebells, although he has done it probably a little bit differently. I'll explain in the workshop. But then he did the same thing with the dumbbell, which is overhead straight arm swing, press, clean, and press. And this is our target drill, and the program covers these combinations. One of them is overhead swing and just continuous presses. The other is continuous clean and press. And the third one is the chain, where you link all the 3 lifts together. So this is the program. And of course, lots of preliminary drills. We'll start with the deadlift. We'll cover various starting positions, because depending on the type of the dumbbell, your limbs and torso length, many people would need to make different adjustments so they lift safely and strongly. The goal is to be able to do the program with whatever type of dumbbell you have. Of course, the loadable dumbbell is preferable, because as you will see, we are using something that's very unique. We will misload the dumbbell on a purpose. One end will be heavier, because it will allow you to do heavier overhead swings than evenly loaded dumbbell, right? But you can use the hex dumbbells, you can use the circus dumbbells, whatever type of dumbbells you have.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this. That's fantastic. That's really great. Oh, that's brilliant. That's so good.
Hello, it's Peter here. Thanks for listening. That was Pavel Macek, part 1. This conversation took a different turn, and Pavel started to talk about philosophy and mindfulness practices. So we decided to make this a 2-parter. So please tune in next week for Pavel Macek, part 2.
You've been listening to Health Odyssey with Peter Lant and James St. Pierre. To get your regular fix of hype-free health, you can subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can find out more on today's and other topics at healthodyssey.com, or find us on Facebook or Instagram by searching for Health Odyssey.